What's the highest rank you've ever gotten in Overwatch? Well, here's a few tips to help you get better and to raise your SR. First, I'm going to quickly go over the recent patch notes that have come out for Season 4 that are the changes from Season 3. Very quick, very Cliff Notes version because I don't want to spend all day on these. There's only 3 real big changes. It's harder to get into the very low SR, so bronze, probably 1,000 and below, and then it's very hard to get into the top SR, so 500 players, top 500 players. It's very difficult to get there. Another thing that probably doesn't affect many of you guys is only top 500 players get the animated portraits that you usually get, you know, the ones where things will actually be moving on the spray. Only top 500 people get that. And I don't mean people who have been in top 500, I mean people who are currently top 500 at the very end of the season. Only those people get it. So it's for the top 500 best people. The reason why they've done this is so that it increases the competition at the very end of the season in the very high brackets of the game. And then the last thing that they've done, or the last thing that I'm going to cover anyway, is they've changed the respawn times on defense so that there's not as many stalemates, so there's not as many draws in the 2-point capture maps, because before there's a ton of them. So now it's going to be a little bit different. Now there's not going to be nearly as many draws, and it's kind of going to fluctuate to some extent to kind of show you, or to kind of give you a chance to capture that second point. Anyway, now that that's over, we get to the tips and whatnot. Some of these are going to be really obvious tips. Some of these maybe won't be very obvious tips, but I promise you will see a ton of improvement in your SR if you just do these simple things. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in multiple other people. And tons of YouTubers will always talk about these few things whenever they're trying to give people tips on how to raise their SR. So unless you're a professional player, or unless you have a very good comp team that you play with, try not to be in a 6-stack for competitive games. The reason why is because you will be pitted against other 6-stacks for competitive games, right? So if you do a 6-stack versus a 6-stack, there's a possible blowout right there, unless one of the teams, say your team, is just an absolute beast of a team, right? You have coordination, you have everything, because you maybe go to tournaments on the weekend and actually play for real money and whatnot. So don't necessarily do a 6-stack. Solo queue is, I mean, it's definitely an option. It's definitely a decent way to do it. What I would suggest is find a friend and duo queue, maybe 2 friends, triple queue, see how you like that, see how things play out for you and whatnot, but try to stay away from the 6 stacks, because it can hurt at times. It can hurt, and you can be punished very bad for it. Next, what you want to do is you want to find characters you can play above your average SR right now. So say you get placed in silver. If you can play Genji like a diamond player, you will not be in silver for very long. It doesn't matter if your team sucks, if people are trolling or whatever, you won't be there for very long. If you can play Genji like a diamond player, right? You'll go through the ranks very quickly and head to diamond. That's why I always like to say meta doesn't matter until you get to the very high ranks. And even at the highest ranks, the Grandmaster ranks, you'll see that meta is not necessarily a thing either. I mean, you look at somebody like IDDQD plays McCree, okay? Well, in Season 4, IDDQD is still going to play McCree, even though Bastion and Soldier are meta heroes now. Same thing with Siegel. He plays Hanzo, he plays Genji, he plays Pharah. None of those characters are in the meta. He does play Zarya, who is in the meta. So meta really does not matter to that much of an extent. So just have an open mind, play what you can play the best, play what you're comfortable with, and you will see yourself grow in SR and as a player overall, because you'll learn more about the game and you'll know what counters what and how to outplay those counters, especially if you're a Genji player or a Tracer player, because they can be countered by a lot of things, but they can always outplay those counters. So if you need a few characters that you think that you should learn, I would definitely suggest picking up Bastion for right now. He's probably going to get nerfed pretty quickly because he is pretty strong and he's in just about every single competitive game right now at every single level. Yes, even the bronze games, even the Grandmaster games and everything in between. He's there constantly. Beyond that, good characters to learn that never seem to go away are Rhine. Zarya has been very strong. Anna, since about 3 months after her release, whenever people finally learned how to play her, has been in every single game. Mercy is kind of on and off. I've seen some great Mercies, some Grandmaster Mercies, some top 500 Mercies, but you can also see some terrible Mercies. So I mean, like, if Mercy's your playstyle, don't give up on Mercy. Mercy can do some amazing things, and I mean, she's getting her buffs here pretty soon, where she makes everybody invulnerable for a short time after they come back, including Mercy. That way the Mercy doesn't just die. That's going to be huge for Mercy. That could bring Mercy back into the meta. Not to mention, if they keep trying to nerf Ana back down, Mercy's going to have a place again. I guarantee that much. Also, if you have somebody trolling in a game, if you have somebody doing some stupid stuff, taking Symmetron attack in a high diamond game, I guess, just don't be discouraged. Don't get mad at that, because if you tilt, then they're going to tilt, and everyone's just going to tilt, which will cause you to lose the game ultimately. It'll cause you to lose the game, and the reason that you're going to lose the game isn't because of that Symmetra, it's going to be because everybody's pissed, right? If everybody's mad, everyone's going to play worse than they normally play. You can carry a Symmetra as long as she's trying to do stuff. It doesn't matter if she gets 1 kill. She's an extra body. She's somebody that people will try to shoot at. You know, you can still do maneuvers and everything with her. Be kind to people in the game. That's a huge thing that not very many people do. I mean, so many people in the game are salty nowadays. And I mean, there's no reason for it. So this one also goes kind of with communication, and that is always be on the comms with your team. You don't have to say anything. If you're one of those people who hates to talk in these matches because you know how cancerous they can be sometimes, don't talk. There's no reason to talk if you don't want to talk. Nobody's forcing you to talk, but just be in the group chat so that you can hear what they're saying, so you can hear what they're strategizing. And if you think that they're right, then I mean, take up, say something if you want to. If you don't want to, don't. That's great. But as long as you can hear what they're saying and what they're planning, you're going to be on the same page as them, at least to some extent, as opposed to if you're in your own voice chat channel, your group or whatever, and not in the match chat channel or whatever it's called. You're going to be way out of the loop. You're going to do what you do, and then they're going to do what they do, and you're probably going to be the odd man out there. Next, this is an absolutely massive tip. Massive. I cannot stress this enough, because this is probably the most important thing overall to do, right? If you want to become better at Overwatch, what do? Okay, 2 things. You practice Overwatch, right? So play quick play. Play arcade mode. It doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're training your aim, as long as you're training your positioning, as long as you're training all of that stuff, you're gonna increase as a player rapidly. And of course, you should always be playing those comp games. Anytime there's a season live, you should be playing comp games, because the difference between quick match and comp games is night and day. So always be playing comp games whenever they're available. That will get you so much better so quick. I promise that. The next thing, and it's the second part of what I just said, the very important thing. If you want to get better at the game, study the pros, study the guides, look at all the guides for how you want to play the character, look at good positioning, because I guarantee if you go and look at how Seagull or Shadowburn is playing Genji, you will learn things. You will learn positioning, you will learn little tricks that they like to do. You will learn who they prioritize first, and chances are, if you're a smart player, you'll start copying what they do. Obviously, they play at a very high level, and maybe their aim's better. Train your aim. It's as simple as that. You see what they can do really well, and then what you need to work on, and then you bridge that gap. You do what you need to do to become that good, or to become a lot better. And the last tip that I have for you is never open Overwatch. Never launch Overwatch and immediately click the competitive queue, right? Never queue into competitive at the second that you open Overwatch. You should never do this. Never. Right? It doesn't matter if you're an absolute beast at the game or not. You're going to lose SR probably if you aren't warm whenever you go into your competitive games. How do you get warm? Play some arcade, shoot some bots. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is get used to aiming, is get used to the way that the mouse feels, get your mind into the Overwatch theme, the Overwatch mindset, I guess. The way that I like to warm up is I play 2 quick matches, and then I play my best heroes in there, the heroes that I would like to play in competitive games, or new heroes that I want to learn, so that maybe someday I can play them in a competitive game, and go from there. That should be your start, is always do 2 quick match games, and then do competitive. Sometimes if I'm having a rough morning, if I'm starting out and I can't hit my right clicks on Genji, if I'm having issues with accuracy on Soldier, I'll kind of adjust, and I'll play 3, 4, maybe even 5 quick match games and then play. Or I might just say, you know what, we'll try again later, and then later that night, then I'll try again, and I'll do decent, and we'll go in, and my SR will shoot up 50 points. The reason why is because I understand when I'm going to do good and when I'm going to do bad. If I were to just launch Overwatch and hop in there, I would just fall in SR because I'm not warm, because I'm not ready. The first game of the day should never be a competitive match. It should always be a quick match or an arcade mode, or shoot bots, something. It doesn't really matter. You can even play a different game if you want to. Just get your mindset in the get your mindset right, and then you can do some competitive. Whenever I'm doing quick play or quick match, I like to look at what other people's comps are, because chances are they're going to be just mutt comps, I guess you could call it, comps that aren't going to be seen too much in competitive. And I like to kind of think of what I can do to counter this comp. What comp will I see in competitive, and how can you counter that? Because chances are, if you're in quick match, your mind's not going to be going 50 miles an hour thinking like, okay, do we have a flanker? Where's their Genji? Where's this guy? Where's Soldier? You're just there for fun. So you have time to kind of think through everything else that you want to think about for your next comp game. What strategies are you going to use? Who should you play? Who's a really good pick right now? Kind of a thing. So guys, those are very, very easy tips. All of those tips are crucial, but all of those tips are very easy, right? It doesn't take much to watch a Seagull video at night because he plays Genji and that's who you play. It doesn't take very much to do any of these things. It doesn't take very much to play a couple competitive games a night. I mean, what? Competitive game lasts 30 minutes, quick match lasts 15 at most. It really, really does not take that much. So figure out what you want to do. And I mean, if you're not too dedicated to Overwatch, then don't expect to be in Diamond. Don't expect to be in Masters or Grandmasters. You get out what you put into the game. So if you study the game a lot, you'll have a lot of success. If you practice the game a lot, you'll have a lot of success. If you're going to go and play For Honor and then come back to Overwatch mid 4th season and wonder why you're not placed so high, it's probably because you haven't been playing too often, right? So dig in, just, dig into your heels, play the game, learn some stuff about the game, learn where you should be positioned as Soldier. I have videos on that. Skyline has videos on that. Mindfuzz has videos on that. Stylosa has videos on that. Everybody has videos on that. Not to mention you can go and watch Seagull play, and he plays Soldier sometimes, and he has impeccable positioning also. He does kind of try some wacky things, but you just have to know what wacky things are and what is just good. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today. What do you think about the current Overwatch season? What do you think about Season 4? What are your likes and what are your dislikes with Season 4? Do you like Bastion being in the meta? Do you dislike that McCree's completely out of the meta now that Soldier and Bastion are better than him? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop that sub because I appreciate it a lot. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.